So, welcome back to our podcast. It's great to have you with us in whatever platform you're joining us from. If you've joined us before, you'll recognise the fact that we've got a new set. So, we're in a different room. We're not kind of sitting on top of each other. It's a bigger room, and hopefully, it looks better. It feels a bit better for us, and it actually is a bit more conducive to you engaging with what we're talking about and what we're saying today. So, today I've got Vicky with me, and Vicky and I are just going to have a bit of a blether about who Vicky is, what she does round about here, what's important to her, and then we're going to land on some mental health stuff as well. And I should say right at the start of this, this podcast is people just like us, and really that's the whole emphasis of it. So if you're watching this and you've got something that you want to say, if you've got something that you want to come on and talk about, if you work for an organisation that you think I'd really like to have my organisation featured on there, then please come on and have a chat with me. Drop us an email at inquiries@healingfortheheart.co.uk, and then we'll see what we can do in terms of scheduling a conversation with you. But we'd love to get as many folks as we can from as many diverse backgrounds as we can. So if you fancy coming on, then drop us a line, and we'll get that set up at some point over the summertime. So anyway, back to Vicky. Vicky's here today. Why don't you tell us, Vicky, a wee bit about yourself and how you've come to be here at Healing for the Heart today?
All right, it's really good to be here. Thanks for asking me, Shona. My name's Vicky Campbell, Victoria, on a Sunday, and I facilitate creative writing classes, and this week we've just started a storytelling group as well. I landed in Healing for the Heart by total chance, I knew someone that was involved, and I joined as a member, I joined as a participant to do what I thought was going to be creative arts. And in my head I had kind of basket weaving and colouring in and stuff like that. But because I knew Donna, I had told Donna a little bit of my background. So my background, in my early 20s had been a fairly decent education, which was a big thing to my mum and dad. So I'd been away to university, and it was English and creative writing that I loved. So I did my degree in publishing and communication studies, and then my life went awry. It really did. It went awry. So here in my 40s, I've found myself in Healing for the Heart. And because Donna knew my history and my passions and my education and stuff, she just said to me one day, why don't you do a wee introduction to creative writing? So this was in the lockdown, so it was on Zoom, and everybody was just a bit crestfallen, and you could see it affecting people's mental health. I certainly myself was a shielding patient, which was absolutely awful. And this is what I did. I did one wee class, and the next week we came back together and people read what they had written, and it was powerful. The folk had really enjoyed it. Some of those girls are still logging in every single week now. I have to say the skills in the class have gotten pretty good, but and I always say this, there's absolutely no skill really involved. If you can write and you can feel, if you can feel and you can think, then you can write, because it's not an English class. There's absolutely no right or wrong to it. And what I've watched happening is, for myself and for the girls that come, is an absolute growth in self-esteem.
Yeah.
Powerful confidence gaining stuff. The human experience that comes out in the writing, I find really, really beautiful. So usually try and set a topic that's going to be quite uplifting. I got used to doing that in lockdown, so I was trying to keep the mood up. So we could be writing about anything from family to gratitude to where we would travel if there was no limitations on us, and I've kind of tried to make it a mood lifting thing. A lot of imagination involved. So for me, who suffers, poor mental health and has done for a lot of my life, it's a couple of hours a week to get completely out of my own head. The sky's the limit. My imagination goes off, and I can write anything. It's really, really helped me in my recovery, and I recover from a lot of different things. I've survived domestic abuse, and I've survived addiction, and I've survived a lot of trauma in my life, and I'm in recovery from all those things. And in a holistic sense, the creative writing stuff's a massive, massive part of it. I love it. I really believe in it. And certainly I can see the other girls growing in it as well.
And it's been fabulous all across lockdown, hasn't it? Because it's like that, because you actually joined right at the very beginning. That was the first group that we put on, right, probably in May 2020, something like that. And kind of that whole idea was just about creating a wee group online where people could connect, so that folks didn't feel so isolated having to stay in their own houses or whatever. And then all of a sudden it was like, before we knew where we were with it, all of a sudden it had got real traction. And we don't just see people in that group from Glasgow, they're all over the place, aren't they?
It's amazing. So there are certainly 2 women that zoom in from Shetland, and they'll pop wee Gaelic or Shetland dialect words into their poetry and their short stories and stuff. Sometimes, I especially remember one week, one of them was reading about walking along the beach up there, and I closed my eyes and listened. It was like a guided meditation. But we've got people from all over the place. That's the amazing thing about Zoom, is it not?
Yeah,
that's the amazing thing about Zoom. There's no geographic limitations to who we can have on that group. I've just done it today, and 2 new girls are in that group today. And it's got to be said, although we've built bonds over a couple of years, all of us are so welcome, and we're so pleased to see new people. For myself, I really hope that people can take out of it what I get out of it, because I know it's good. I know it's good for mental health. I know it's good for confidence and self-esteem. The writing's amazing, and it's not just the hour that we meet, it's thinking it in the terms of whatever I'm writing about during the week and taking wee notes. I know we've got one girl that's got a notepad next to her bed because she has inspiration through the night. But the bonds and the friendship that I've built up in that group as well are amazing, and the new girls will benefit from that as well. And they both said they'd enjoyed it, and that's after just 1 week. So yeah, it is good.
And so we've got 2 creative writing groups now, haven't we? Because we've one on a Thursday and then this original one on a Friday. So the one on the Thursday, folk can come in person, they can join online, and that's an open group, so men, women, anybody can join that. But the one on a Friday, on the Friday lunchtime, is predominantly folks online, although if folks wanted to come in person, I'm sure they could, but it's predominantly online. But we keep that as a women only group, don't we? Because actually we want to create a space where women who perhaps don't feel safe in mixed groups are able to come into that group, and they know it's a women only group.
Yeah, exactly that. And organically that just kind of became a women's group, and like you say, now we want to keep it like that. This is the amazing thing about hybrid. So the new creative writing group on a Thursday and the storytelling group on a Friday morning, people are welcome to drop into this beautiful big space that Healing for the Heart have got here, but we're also on Zoom. So the camera on the big TV is set up at the end of the board table. And that's amazing, because for me, my thinking around that was mental health isolates people anyway, but people have really, really gotten isolated through lockdown. It's been very, very hard on all of us, I think. So the nice thing about the hybrid platforms is that people can join us on Zoom, and I mean, if you weren't comfortable, you wouldn't even need to put your camera on Zoom. You could join and just listen. And then hopefully, as people's confidence grows, they might pop the camera on, they might write a little bit and read a little bit, and there's never any pressure. Some people do just come in and listen, and that's absolutely fine. Everybody's welcome. But obviously, I would hope eventually people would feel comfortable enough to come into the space. Although, of course, the Shetland girls are not going to manage to do that. And geographically, the Zoom, I just think the Zoom platform's really powerful, but I'm excited about being live as well. Really excited, and I think the hybrid thing's amazing. I think that'll work well.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course we've published some of these ladies' writing, so we did that kind of midway through lockdown. We gathered a whole pile of their writing and published it, and it's available on Amazon, so they've even got a book listed on Amazon, and that was a massive morale booster for people, wasn't it?
Well, certainly for myself, I'm now a published author and able to say that. How fantastic does that sound? We each individually chose our favourite pieces of writing, and some of them really are, amazingly brilliant writing. And we kind of concentrated a little bit on Christmas because we published the book around Christmas time 2 years ago. Not that Christmas, the one before. And I know for myself, I bought 20 copies and gave it to all my friends and family for their Christmas, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. And I know the other girls did the same. So so there was a paper copy, and it's also on Kindle, I think, on Amazon. That was an amazing morale booster. That really was. There was a great flurry of excitement. We had written so much because we're writing at least one piece, sometimes two, each week. So it was really, really fun. For me, myself, I went back through my stuff, and I know the other girls said the same thing. We all had the same experience. And I'm reading back through my stuff, trying to choose favourites. And I'm like, wow, I have actually gotten really quite good at this. And everybody felt the same way. Yeah. So it was the absolute nuggets. It was our favourite pieces that we put in that little book. Yeah. And to be able to give that away and say to your family, mine's is on page 16, it was amazing. And we all felt the same way about that. That was a great thing to do. And we'll be doing that again.
Yeah. And so we've just launched as well, or you've just launched a new storytelling group here as well. So that's that's an addition to the creative writing stuff. Why don't you tell us a bit about the storytelling?
Oh, I'm so excited about it. So it's brand new to me. I've never done anything like this before, but I'm really excited about it. I've been looking into storytelling traditions, and Scottish storytelling traditions, and others as well, Native American, European, West African, all sorts of stuff. And I'm finding that storytelling really is an art, but that we all have stories in us. So, there's a lot of stories that our grannies have told us that have come down through the generations and maybe aren't written down anywhere. I heard an amazing one from Shetland, from one of the Shetland girls this morning. Fantastic. And again, those stories are about human experience, and quite often we're looking at the themes that run across all the different kinds of cultures. So things like little fairy people, little magical people, they seem to appear in every kind of culture. And what fascinated me when I looked at the traditions was, before media and before we were a global village, the storytellers coming to your village or your town, it was a massive deal, and they weren't just entertainers, they were educators as well. So you would be geographically removed, out of touch, and you would get your news from the storytellers. And the other thing that really excites me is hearing people's family stories, So, for myself, my grandpa was sunk by a German submarine in the Merchant Navy, and my mum told me that story when I was a child. And when did you ever think you were going to have an audience to repeat a story like that? And that's the kind of thing that we're doing. Again, I can see people coming to life through that stuff. Beautiful to share that stuff with each other.
Absolutely. So folks can still join that storytelling group. That's on a Friday
this morning at 10:30. Welcome to come into the space or join us on Zoom.
Yep.
Please come.
And you've obviously talked about how all of that kind of creative stuff has impacted not just your mental health, but the mental health and well-being of the folks that joined the group as well. And I wonder how much of that is actually in the connection as well.
Definitely.
So it's a parallel thing. It's not just about the creative writing, but actually it's about the connection that the creative writing or the storytelling gives people.
Yeah, so again, I think it's that identification that we get. It's that human experience. It's that writing about something that's given you great joy. And I can see, especially on the Zoom meeting, I can see everybody nodding because we all identify with that stuff. We all relate, to what a beautiful experience or a sad experience feels like, So it's that human connection. The girls in the creative writing group that's been running are friends, they're my friends, they're each other's friends. We support each other a lot, and that's a beautiful thing. It is. But also just the expression, being able to express yourself as well, I think is really, really healthy. And we are now, and for anybody joining as well, it's okay to come in and say, I'm having a bad week, I haven't written anything. It's not about that, It's about being in the group, getting support, giving support, and sharing human
it's
experience.
that commonality,
Yep.
isn't it?
Yep.
And
It's
it's
beautiful.
about recognising that you're not on your own. There are
No.
other people there, and that what you're going through isn't abnormal or odd, actually, because we all identify with it. And I suppose that's been really important through the pandemic, especially, hasn't it? That kind of idea that actually it's okay, we're in it together, you're not on your own in the midst of all of this,
Yeah.
which we know impacts mental health and well-being hugely, don't we?
Definitely. I think isolation and not being connected to other people, to something bigger than yourself, to something that gives you a little sense of purpose and a little bit of structure, I think that stuff has really, really affected people through lockdown, and not just through lockdown. You know, I know for myself, you know, mental health, you can feel like you don't want to be around other people, you know, and for me, I think I like this. It's okay to not be okay. I'm really liking this the way that that's quite open now. That it's okay to talk about mental health. You know, that it's okay to talk about any struggles, because, you know, as Britons, and probably especially as Scots, there's a bit of a put a facade thing on, stiff upper lip. It's a British thing. Do you know?
Yeah.
Don't show vulnerability. Don't show anybody that you're not feeling okay, and that is really, really unhealthy. And I see Healing for the Heart tackling that, and I try and tackle it in creative writing and in storytelling as well. It really is okay to not be okay. You know, tell somebody,
Yeah.
speak.
And it's also that flip too, that actually it's okay to not be okay, but it doesn't need to stay like this.
Yeah.
Actually, you can move beyond that. So in a group like that, where you've got lots of people at different stages, if you're having a bad day, chances are there'll be somebody not having a bad day, and that gives you hope,
Yeah.
because they might have been having a bad day last week,
Yeah.
and it's better this week. So actually it starts to bring us out of ourself almost.
Very much,
Yeah.
very much, yeah. I think if you're able to be honest and get vulnerable with the right people,
Yeah.
you know, and like I say, these groups build trust and they build connection. You are usually almost always going to find that someone has been through that thing.
Yeah.
You're going to find that. You're going to find that they're able to tell you how they got through that thing. And maybe sometimes they're just able to empathise with you, and sometimes people just need listened to
Yeah.
in the right space. And I do believe in that stuff. Really, really good for your mental health. Really good for your emotional health. You know, and that holistic well-being is a thing that I really, really believe in. And I do believe that creative writing and stuff adds to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to see the next book. I'm quite sure there's another book coming somewhere
many
in
books
there. Really excited to see it. So on these podcasts, we always ask the same question at the end for everybody, because actually that continuity is there, and because it's fascinating to hear. Certainly for me, it's fascinating. I don't know about anybody out there, but it's really fascinating for me to hear people's reactions and people's responses to the question. So the question goes along the lines of, you know, if you could wave a magic wand today and create a miracle and change one thing in our society or culture that would have a huge impact on people's mental health and well-being, what would it be?
Education, probably at primary school. Educating our children, probably at primary school level, but in the home from the earliest age. It's okay to not be okay. How do you feel? How do you really feel? How's that making you feel? I just really believe. I was bullied as a child and I was unable to tell my parents. And then my daughter was bullied as a child, and I was always phoning headmasters to complain. I was always phoning other people's mothers to find out what on earth was happening. And I actually never ever stayed in the house and said to my daughter, how's that making you feel? And that stuff really affects people. Yeah. So I think that learning to process emotion from an early age has to lie in education of the children. And I really think that would be my answer. Fabulous. It's okay to not be okay.
Fabulous. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I mean, that was just such a wealth of stuff in there, so much in there. Thanks so much for taking the time to be part of this. And I really look forward to seeing what comes of the creative writing and
Me
the
too.
Storytelling group.
Me
I just
too.
want to join the storytelling group now.
Yeah.
So thank you. We hope that you will join us on the next one when we'll be speaking to somebody else who's just like us.